Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Metabolic Code Air Support Clinical Case Review. We have Jim Laval with us this evening. I am Libby Bricker, your moderator. Please raise your hand or enter your question in the chat box, and we'll be happy to address any questions. I will hand it over to Jim without any further delay.
Great. I hope I hit that right. Is my screen in control now?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a great case because this person just came back in for their first revisit after we initially worked her up. She came in from out of town and was a very highly achieving business entrepreneur. She's a woman that had started 3 businesses. She would bike, do 15, 20-mile bike rides up to 50-mile bike rides. So she was pushing herself hard in business. She was pushing herself hard in terms of her exercise. But honestly, her exercise was her outlet for how much stress she was under because her businesses were all growing really quickly. But then one day she hit the wall and crashed, and this is the result of it. This is the questionnaire that she answered when she first came in. The only thing, she didn't have a blood pressure when she came in, but her blood pressure is actually borderline high. She's like 145 over 95, and her salivary pH is at about 6.5 coming off of the second visit. But her blood pressure was much higher the first visit, and then it was, of course, attributed to a bunch of whole different other stuff that she had said that happened on her travel. But now we've kind of shaken it out and know that she's a little bit hypertensive. So let's take a look. Do you drink alcoholic beverages, 1 to 2 glasses of wine daily? Yes. She's under chronic stress and she's beginning to get anxious? Yes. And then, exercise very regularly, was not using her heart rate, was noticing that her heart rate would bump. She couldn't take her heart rate up anymore. She would feel fatigued. She was losing her memory, so real, short-term memory issues were big, but we'll see that come up in the questionnaire. So if you look here on drug-induced nutrient depletion, there's none because she was on no meds. Do you feel irritable if the meal is being missed? Literally, if she did not eat every 2 hours, she was irritable and crashing and would need to find food. So she was hypoglycemic for sure. She would get her periodic crashes during the day, mainly due to her dysglycemia. And then her short-term memory definitely eroded. I mean, she would literally start to lose focus and concentration mid-sentence. Craving salt, so we know that her adrenals are under fatigue. She was emotionally flat, not laughing as much. Her short-term memory worse than it used to be by far. Overcommitted throughout her day. When you start 3 businesses, you do. Too much stress. Ability to exercise decreased. That was that heart rate issue that she's had. She wasn't making her rides. And then feeling exhausted, from morning to night. And so she went through thyroid, obviously, feeling tired morning to night, as I just said, dry skin, dry hair, brittle nails, hair is starting to thin, and she definitely noticed the hair thinning as one of the main reasons she came to us for. And then if you look through here, have you taken antibiotics for acne? Yes, so the gut has a history of being broken down. The mental fogginess is there. She has constipation or goes back and forth. She was actually going back and forth between diarrhea and constipation. Actually had reported she got gassy, bloated, after meals, and she had developed adult food intolerances. So long bike riders, releasing all that histamine, causing a leaky gut, in addition to all the stress in her business. Nothing there on low acid, a little bit on high acid. She was taking betaine hydrochloride at the time when she came in. Nothing on her immune system other than, do you have swollen joints or get joint pain? She was beginning to get that. Her family has a history of autoimmunity, a strong history of autoimmunity. She doesn't get enough sleep. She's a perseverator, so if you notice here on question 108, trouble replaying events, she gets between 5 and 7 hours a night. Most of the time it was 5 at the time, and it was broken. And then, do you get frequent mood swings? That was a yes as well. And then she gets calf cramps and experiences restless motor syndrome We already asked her if she exercised regularly, but that was in there again. And then she's told by her doctor she had high blood pressure. She said her head feels heavy sometimes. She gets lightheaded or easily faints. Basically, she got lightheaded. She didn't faint. And then you get some buzzing or a roar in the ears. And basically, what she said was when she reacts, when her allergies kick up, her ears kick up. When her allergies kicks up, her mental fogginess goes up. So you know she's someone who's reactive, probably to molds, probably to other foods, maybe some environmentals, and it's beginning to trigger some chronic neuroinflammation in her. So let's keep on going down here. Liver, she's intolerant to greasy food, so the gallbladder may need a little bit of help. She's can't hold her urine. That very well could be a pelvic floor issue. We had her go on to a OB-GYN, but then also my nurse practitioner is going to be working with her on bioidenticals on that. And then she gets a feeling that her lymph at times are swollen, especially in the groin. And then stress incontinence we kind of talked about. And then sex drive is down. She started taking some bioidentical progesterone when she came into me, and she was postmenopausal. And those are the key things. So when you look at this, it's dominated by the fact that her life is riddled with stress. She's exhausted. Her gut is breaking down, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. She has allergies, and it's just the general fatigue. The main thing is that she literally would have to take a nap before she would close her store, before she could come home and get in a car. And then she would have periodic crashes all day long. So this is somebody who, you know, obviously has driven herself hard, and now, the wheels have come off the proverbial metabolic cart. So let's take a look at her questionnaire, and let's see what it tells us. And I think you can see where, you know, just looking at her questionnaire, where she's at. Let's see where her labs show us she's at. And let's take a look. I think you're going to be amazed once again that this pinpoints exactly where we needed to start to work with her. So the number one thing that shows up on her is gut immune brain. So if you look at the totals, her symptom score on her gut is really high. Her immune scores were okay, and then her brain scores were very high because of the sleep problems and the cognitive problems that she repeatedly scored positively on. But if you look, it's a fairly close second with thyroid, adrenal, pancreas. And if we actually had a few more markers, if we went to like a little bit more of a panel on her immune system, we may find that it would maybe even score a little more. I don't know. But the thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, triad 1 and triad 2 are virtually equal. Then look at the fall off, the triad 3, triad 4, and triad 5. So once again, you've got, you know, 280, 370 for the bottom 3 triads, and close to 1200, 1195 for the first 2 triads. So 4 times the symptoms and lab disturbances in the first 2 triads. And this is easy to talk to her because she understands that her brain isn't right. She's feeling mood swings. She's feeling fatigue. She's feeling a thickness and a fogginess in her head. You know, she knows that her immune system's off. She's, you know, she's got allergies. She's got intolerances. She can tell they're starting to act up and affect the way she feels. And her gut, with her digestive issues, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, it's obvious that there's some big problems there. So let's take a look at the next piece. Where are all her risks at? Well, she comes up high in a lot of areas, and this makes sense because all of her issues are around dysglycemia and high stress and immune imbalances. So when you think of people that are insulin resistant, have high cortisol, and their immune system is shifted, all of these risk indicators are going to come up high. So she's had really high point totals in these risk categories because of the amount of symptoms that she's had. So let's go and take a look at her labs. So the first step is her cortisol is just barely functional at 10.9. It's good, but I'll tell you what, it's starting to trend a little low. But her adrenals aren't the big thing. Let's look at her thyroid. So this is why it's interesting. She only answered a few questions for her thyroid, but look at her thyroid numbers. Her free T3 is low. Her T3 total is low. Her free T4 is trending low. Her total T4 is low. The only thing that she didn't have were antibodies, and even then, she is producing them. So this is someone whose gut is broken down, her immune system's under attack. As we get more data on her, we didn't get a DHEA pool number put in here. That's going to play out and be important. And then, of course, let's keep looking. Her red blood cell magnesium, incredibly low, 4.7. So there's no wonder she's insulin resistant. She's getting muscle cramps, muscle spasms, and leg spasms. Look at her monocytes and eosinophils. So she's starting to load up on her eosinophils. She's getting histaminic. That's that gut breaking down. And then her monocytes are trending high, so you know there's some lower grade inflammation taking place, probably orienting in the gut, resulting in joint discomfort. And then let's take a look at the next. If you look at her LDL, but look at her, this is what's interesting. You know she's really inflamed and has problems, but look at her LDL particle number. The 721 LDLP, I mean, all day long you look to get numbers that good. She's on no medications and has a lipid profile that looks like that. Her heart rate is low. As you look here, her hematocrit is trending a little high, but she's an endurance athlete. Her hemoglobin's up, but she rides at altitude. So both of these numbers are because she rides at altitude. The real person isn't from Louisiana. The real person is from Colorado, Boulder. And so, she's riding at altitude. She's going to get a little higher hematocrit. She's going to get a little more hemoglobin. And then, of course, her platelets look fine. Her red blood cells look fine. Her red cell width is fine. Her white blood cell count's a little bit higher than it could be. Her uric acid's perfect. And then, of course, she did not do hormones. But if you look, let's look at her questionnaire. Even with her questionnaire, the symptoms and the labs come up the same. But her biggest symptoms show up in adrenals. Her biggest lab disturbance shows up in her thyroid. So if you notice, the gut, immune, brain, and thyroid, adrenal, pancreas still kind of coming out 1 and 2. Now let's take a look at all the lab values. Obviously, these are great talking points. When your monocytes are going up, that means that your immune system is breaking down. You're getting chronically inflamed. That's leading to the gut breaking down. When the gut breaks down, you start to attack the thyroid. So these are great talking points. And here's the big things that are driving her chemistries right now. And if we look at her triad 2, we can see free T3 is low, free T4 is low, T3 total is low, T4 total is low. Why is that important for gut? Well, you absorb your nutrients through your gut via thyroid hormones. So when your thyroid hormones are low, you can't absorb nutrients. Red cell width is a little off, not huge, just a little off, but her eosinophils and monocytes both trending high. Her hemoglobin, once again, the hemoglobin is trending a little bit high, but honestly, she's at altitude. I wouldn't really give her too much grief over that. In general, this is scoring pretty well. The only one that's really of concern here is her monocytes. And, of course, her from the cardio side, there's very little points coming in here on the, from the blood test side. So this, of course, goes through all of her explanations. So the big thing to note on here is this is somebody who's training hard, her gut's breaking down, her thyroid is becoming dysfunctional because she's running at such an elevated heart rate that it's shutting down her thyroid hormone. It's shutting down free T3, it's shutting down her free T4, so her production is low, and her immune system's starting to activate antibodies. So let's see what the system would tell her to take. Well, first of all, is clean up the gut, and that's, candida and glutamine. Get her on magnesium, which is absolutely critical for somebody who is that depleted with that many symptoms. Or red blood cell magnesium was super low at 4.7. Melatonin, which we can trend up on the dosing from 2 up to 5. Actually, you could do 1 milligram for that matter. And then get her started on Moducare because the aches and the fact that she's trending on her immunity. And so that's blue, along with the digestive enzyme. Now remember, once you start getting your thyroid function corrected, they may not need betaine hydrochloride, right? Because thyroid hormone signals hydrochloric acid production. And then Ultraflora. And then what are we doing for Triad 2? Well, there's magnesium, Still Point. Now, in this case, here's where you got to make the call. Do you give them thyroid support, which is what this does? It gives a nutritional thyroid recommendation, or do you give a med? We gave Nature-Throid. So in this case, even though the report's saying, hey, you could use thyrostasis, because she was feeling so tired, we gave her Nature-Throid. And we did put her on something for glucose regulation. This Wellness Essentials is just a multivitamin, obviously, with glucose balancing properties. And that's what we did on her. And I'm happy to report that in 4 weeks, she could get through her day. She wasn't having energy crashes anymore. She was having less dizzy spells, not completely gone, but a lot less. Her heart rate, she was to the point where she could hardly exercise. She was now walking and monitoring her heart rate and able to get her heart rate up to 120 with no problem. Her restless motor syndrome had gone away. But yet she's still lagging on blood pressure. So at 4 weeks, her blood pressure was still elevated a little bit. We're going to keep a real close eye on her. We added Kyolic aged garlic to it. And we're going to see if by continuing to dampen her stress response, and she's sleeping. She's actually sleeping through the night, unless her bladder wakes her up. But in general, she is sleeping through the night. And so what we basically did was we worked on her immune system, Moducare, clean up her yeast, give her some probiotics, help her digest her food. We gave her something for stress response, Still Point. We gave her something for thyroid, which is prescriptive. And the one other thing that I did for her, because she had a lot going on, she's a business executive and she needed to start feeling better quick, is I gave her Adrenal Cortex. And I gave her 2 Adrenal Cortex in the morning and in the evening. And that basically is the program that we did for this individual. And it worked great. And it's all because we focused at those first 2 triads. We hammered those triads, really got the right products going. 4 weeks later, she's able to work all day. She's not in a crisis with her blood sugar. Her GI tract is straightened out. No more constipation, diarrhea, got her magnesium pull up, got her off of gluten, got her off of dairy, and she's off to the races. She now is going to repair. It'll take us probably 6 months to get her fully repaired, but she's going to be repaired because we were able to see clearly where we needed to start. We didn't get confused with, we should start her on bioidentical hormones. We didn't get confused with, maybe we should, get her going on detox. We just stuck to the triads that were elevated, and that created a success for her. And of course, we looked at all the different notes that are here. We got her on a metabolic code diet. We did draw a food allergy panel on her when she came in at 4 weeks. Following this, we have not looked at metals yet or persistent organic pollutants, but she's outside riding. But we just haven't done it yet because we want to get her feeling a little better first. We wouldn't detoxify her yet anyway. And then the cognitive impairment is improving significantly. We added RG3 nasal spray this last visit because she wanted to really get it going. The GI system improved. This particular thing would say if no improvement in thyroid after 60 days, you could add Atrazet to help out with the adrenals, but that is we went ahead and jumped to the helping the cortisol levels come up right away. Sleep helped, and then we're going to check and see where all of her lab values are at. So that's really, this is a great case, born in 64, so I think she's, 51. Actually, I think she's 52 because it was January of 64. And this is a typical person, busy, hectic executive, running hard, trying to do the right things, trying to eat better, and yet the wheels are still coming off the cart because she really wasn't taking things that were, she had a whole bag, by the way, I failed to mention this. She brought in a bag of 35 supplements. I have her down to 10, and she's getting results. 10 including her script. Probiotic, her everything. I think it might even be 9. I have to count it up to be exact, but I think it was like, she went from 35 things to 9 things, and she's feeling dramatically better in 4 weeks because we focused on where are you broke. And that's our case study for tonight.
Thanks, Jim. We'll give folks a minute here to enter questions if there are any. I'll keep my eye out. John, you had your hand raised. You're unmuted, and you can state your question when you're ready.
Okay. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
I was just wondering if there's anything that you would recommend as far as when she wakes up at night because of the bladder, how to control that so that she may not have to get up in the middle of the night. I've got some patients, the same thing. They wake up 2-3 times at night, and especially when they started drinking more water in the daytime.
Yep.
Some reason that keeps them going through the night. Any thoughts on that?
Well, there's nothing easy. It could be a pelvic floor issue, and therefore they need topical testosterone and exercises to reinvigorate the pelvic floor. It could be that she's chronically inflamed, right? Her monocytes are high, her eosinophils are high, and that she's got, it could be a little bit of a low-grade inflammatory process. It could be that she's not sleeping deep enough, and therefore when she stirs and wakes, she feels that she needs to get up. And then it could be the fact that she can't hold her bladder. So there's a bunch of different options that are there. I'll tell you the one thing I always do is I get people on Solidago and Shatavari, which are kidney support products, because they really help to kind of improve filtration and improve, what in traditional medicine would be called tonic function in the kidney, so kind of restoring normal metabolic effect. And we use a product called Renipat D by Compounded Nutrients. That's what I use in my clinic, and that's what I ended up putting her on this second round while we're going to do her bioidentical hormones now, because she does want to do bioidentical hormones and see if that'll help her. But that's, we use tonifying herbs for the kidney, and then ask more. Are you waking up and then you notice you need to go? Are you, what category are you in? And then you may be able to figure out, okay, exactly what you need to do. Is her bladder prolapsed a little bit? Is there, what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
It looks like that's probably going to wrap it up for questions tonight. So as always, thank everybody for being here. Thanks for your time, Jim, and thanks for everyone who could join us.
Great. Thank you.